Good morning. Welcome to ONV's A Financial Pillar. I'm Ryan Lepird, and joining me on the set today are my co-hosts, Mr. Fort Wayne, JJ Foster.
Pleasure being here. Appreciate it, sir.
And Sweet Tea, Terrence Bush.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, glad to see you gentlemen could make it through the fog this morning. That was something else, wasn't it?
Hey, you
Absolutely.
got that right.
Yeah.
I was looking for Rudolph.
Rudolph. I was looking for the road. Just trying to stay on the road. So, today we got a special guest with us to talk personal finances. Fort Wayne native, John Pitts. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Good. John's a CPA, runs a successful CPA firm in Atlanta. As I mentioned, Fort Wayne native and fellow Northside alum, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Do you identify as a Redskin or a legend?
I'm definitely a Redskin.
Redskin, me as well. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us today.
Okay.
What are you doing in town?
I'm just in town doing a little business. I'm just doing a little development work.
Gotcha.
So that's it.
Gotcha. So back for some business.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got to where you're at in the CPA world?
Sure. Yeah. I'm from Fort Wayne. I grew up on Holton Street first maybe 11 years of my life. Went to school up in Michigan at Northwood University. Came back to Fort Wayne, moved to Atlanta, Georgia in the 90s. And then got my CPA exam. I passed my CPA exam. And then from there, I was hitting the road, hit the road running.
Very good.
So is personal finance, CPA, is that something that you always wanted to do? How did you get in that line of work?
Well, let's see. My grandfather probably got me started. So how I got started in that world is we go to church every Sunday. And so, they passed the collection plate. My grandfather went to the back room to count the money, and I went back with him to count the coins, and I stacked the coins, and that's probably how I got started doing accounting work.
Okay, well, that's good. And that's a good, wholesome story. I thought you were going to say my granddad ran the numbers and I used to have the books. But, yeah, you got started in the church. That's beautiful. And, it's funny. I was just on the show last night, and a gentleman asked me, at what age do we talk finances with our kids? Now, here you are, whether it was intentional or not, but Grandpa got you started in your career then. So,
Yeah, it's definitely my grandparents. My grandmother, she was very tight with the money. She would always tell me, hey, when you go on vacation, you don't have to spend all your money. Make sure you bring a little money back from your vacation. So if I went on vacation with $100, I would always come back with $10. And then my mom was very instrumental as far as managing my money. So what she always taught me was just, she really believed in tithing. And so she said every time, if you make $1, you got to give, 10 cents to the Lord. So when I was young, I was working, I make some money. And then I just made sure that I put aside 10% to give to the church. And so that really helped me with my budgeting because I knew from that point I had to really start budgeting my money. So it really wasn't, so tithing really helped me with budgeting because I had to make sure I allocated that money. So then as I grew, I knew I had to, when I went to Atlanta and I need to know how much money I need to make, I backed into that number because I knew how much I needed to take home. I knew how much I had to get to the church, and I knew how much I had to get a tax. So what happened was, let's say for instance, if I needed to make, $100 to pay my bills, and then I wanted to, put $10 away, $10 away for savings, I backed into the number. So if I ask you for some money, I may ask you for, or if I ask the business owner or my job for some money, I need to make $135 because my money was already allocated to, church and taxes. And then I know how much money I had to make. And so that's how I backed into it.
Yeah. Who helped you understand the taxes part of that budgeting?
The taxes part?
Yeah. You're talking about the budgeting and saving a little bit back for the tithing, but it sounds like you did that at an early age. Like, did your parents, did they teach you about taxes? Is that something you just learned or?
No, well, of course I took tax 1 and 2 in college. And actually my first 10 years in the accounting profession, I didn't even do tax. I did financial statements and I understood the business side of it. And then when we went to business, then that's when I really started to do more tax, and I started to understand the tax side of it. But for me, the tax, I always knew that taxes were going to be taken out my paycheck. It just honestly, it just didn't bother me. I just knew I had the budget to make more money. So that really wasn't an issue for me.
Very good.
So you going to Atlanta, was that by design, or how did you end up in Atlanta? Because I mean, when I hear that approach, it's almost like a conservative approach, a common sense approach. This is what I need. This is how much I need to make. When you went to Atlanta, I mean, the cost of living is a lot different than what we have in Fort Wayne. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, the cost of living is definitely different.
Was it a lot different at the time when you went there?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I can attest.
Yeah, you were there.
So yes.
So, yes, some things were higher. So at the time, what I did is I came back here. I was working at Midwest America Federal Credit Union, and I don't think I was making that much money. So I would always go in a paper and look for jobs in Atlanta or North Carolina. So I was looking at different places to move. And so I also looked at the cost of living index. So I was looking at Seattle, Chicago, DC, North Carolina, and Atlanta. Okay, so I went to Chicago. Chicago was way too high, and it was cold. It was raining, and it was like $20 a park. So I was like, I'm not going to Chicago. Seattle was way too far. DC was cool, but I just didn't want to go to DC, and I probably had like $200. So I went to Atlanta. I lived with my uncle for a little bit before I got a job. But Atlanta, the cost of living was not that bad. Like the housing costs at that time, it was very comparable. Of course, Fort Wayne is a lot cheaper, but Atlanta was not that much more. So I went down there, and I knew, again, first, I trusted God, but I knew my skill set, and I knew I can go down there because at the time I could type really fast. And I was like, man, I can get a job as a secretary and make more money than I'm making here at Midwest America. So I went down there and just, plugged in and started to work.
Can I interject, though? You said wasn't that much. Now, let me put this in perspective for you people. This man was a CPA, a certified public accountant. There was a school principal and a high school teacher. 3 roommates living together in a townhouse. They all had their bedroom furniture, but there was no living room furniture. So you think about that. Every one of them jobs and careers I just named in Fort Wayne, you can live where you want. They were in Atlanta starting out. They had the roommate. They had the room together to make ends meet.
Yeah, but did they do that because you chose to do that? Have some roommates, or was it financial?
Financial decision? Again, that's when we first started. I was 22, 23, right? And that's when we were first starting out. That's when JJ used to come. But granted, yeah, it wasn't that bad for me because the one roommate was my roommate from college. And then granted, yeah, when I got down there, I lived with my uncle for a little bit, and then I moved out. And it was somewhat hard, but you don't know how hard it is because that's just the way you live in. So I didn't know anybody else was doing anything different. But you can fast forward that today. So today, I had a guy that was working for me, and he, I was paying him like $85,000. And I thought that was like a lot of money. But he's telling me he's got roommates. So he's got 2 roommates. So it's all, it's all relative. And he's 35. So the cost of living now is a lot higher than it was back then.
Well, that's why I asked you earlier, what the cost of living was like then, because that was kind of before Atlanta really exploded.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was definitely, it wasn't, I don't think it was that bad. The cost of living of Chicago is a lot higher, because I moved from Atlanta to Chicago, where I was supposed to live in Chicago, but I just traveled all the time. So I was paying maybe like $600 a month in Atlanta at the time, and I went to Chicago and I was paying like $1,000, and it wasn't anywhere near how I was living in Atlanta. But then again, comparing Atlanta to Fort Wayne, Atlanta, a beer may cost you $8 to $10. Down here, you could buy the whole bar at $10, $20.
So with that being said, with even just the cost of living index and everything else that you've accomplished with your career, what would you say your biggest obstacle was with becoming a CPA and furthering your career with that?
Wow. My biggest obstacle?
Yes.
That's a good question. I really don't know. I guess I think the first hurdle was just the first hurdle. The first hurdle in Atlanta was getting a job. You know what I'm saying? So it took me a while to get a job. I worked at a couple of different places. I would look in the paper at the time. Look at the paper, call the recruiter on Monday morning, like first thing 8:00. Hey, you got something for me? And then he would say no, or he may have something for a week. And then he saw that I was persistent. So he said, man, call me every day. I said, I was like, that's easy. So I'm going to call you every day. So I called him every day. And then finally, he got something for me. And what's funny is my business partner at the time, well, my business partner now, he was a salesperson. And so he said, John, you're a little bit too honest. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, man, people ask you a question and you like, no, I don't know this. I don't know that. And so I was like, okay. So the guy asked me, I went to the recruiter had a interview, and the guy said, hey, do you know Peachtree? Right. And I said, yeah, because again, I'm not really lying. He didn't say if I knew Peachtree Accounting. He said if I know Peachtree. And I was like, yeah, I know Peachtree. It's the street. I didn't tell him, but I'm like, it's the street in Atlanta. And so he's like, okay, cool. We want you to come over to, a manufacturing company because we need like a controller and we need somebody to do our books. So I said, okay. So I went over. So I got the job, and then I went over there. First thing I did was they had, at the time, Peachtree accounting software. Mm-hmm. They had the books. And, I knew accounting and I knew how everything works. So I took them books home and I read them. And then, I just went off from there. So I think the biggest hurdle was just, getting your foot in the door. And then, just being from Fort Wayne and, hanging around JJ is, how JJ works. So it was just, you just put in the hard work and it's going to come for you. And you really, like, what I didn't know is you really don't know how hard everybody works until you get around someone that doesn't work as hard as you. Well, you know what I'm saying? Because you're used to, getting up every morning and going to work and putting the time in. You're thinking everybody's like that, but everybody's not like that.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like there was a lot of perseverance when it came to that. Of course, having a support group definitely helped you push through that. So I guess to build on that, would you say there were any points at a time where you were ever discouraged and you felt like quitting? What was your motivator to keep making you keep going?
You got some good questions.
Interview boy.
You know what? I'll be honest with you again. There's always, I've had times where I've had to, just take a break. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about giving up, but definitely, taking a break. But then actually it just goes back to your childhood. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm just going to throw a little bit on JJ. He don't know this, but I'll tell him. Is we used to go every day, and he was going to college. We go every day, play basketball and play tennis. Mm-hmm. And then, I would see him and I would see his brother up running, right? And I knew like some of the things that they were going through. And so like I was like, man, they still out there working hard, And so then whenever I would like get discouraged, I would just think back, man, I gotta work hard. And then, I would work out with JJ, or I hope JJ work out. And if I threw the ball back to him soft, he'd throw it to me hard and say, throw it hard. And so I throw it hard. So really when I got down, sometimes I just go back and I just think about being in that gym and like how you have to, work hard every day, no matter, what happens. And then another thing was a lot of it just comes from your childhood is, y'all got Wildcat here, right? So, honest to God, like I wasn't a great athlete, but I got perfect attendance in Wildcat, right? So you always have to show up, you know what I'm saying? If you show up every day, and I even got this just, playing some other sports, somebody's not going to show up that day, right? And when they don't show up, it's your time to shine. Take
advantage of your opportunity.
Exactly. And then you take advantage of that opportunity and then you're good to go. So that's the main thing. It's just that if you're having a hard day, or you think you're not going to make it, sometimes you just got to go to work, and then
Just
yeah,
just do it.
Yeah, you just got to show up.
Yeah. I was telling my son this the other day because he's real big and 18 years old, real big in the gym and stuff. And then he kind of got off of it for a little bit. Once you get away from the gym, it starts to get easy, right? So I was telling him, just go. He's working a full-time job now. He's graduated. He's coming home. He's tired. Like, I should go to the gym, but I don't want to. I'm tired. Like, just go. Just get up and go. The best workouts I've had are the days I did not want to go to the gym.
Right.
More fulfilling. You actually realize you accomplished something you didn't want to do.
Right.
That's a good work ethic there.
And I'm gonna tell you the secret too. John, what he just described, he was going through a Division I workout, and like you said, he didn't play
With
college
you?
athletics. Yeah. But hey, he was there and every day, so that's funny that he tells that story. But off of Terrence's the question he talked about your biggest obstacles and hurdles. Going to Atlanta, was that by design? Do you think that going to a minority city, that opened doors and allows you to do things, and that staying here, you may have faced your different type of situations, different ceilings and things, but going to Atlanta, it's kind of a different way of doing business.
Oh yeah, it definitely helped. I mean, because of course you still got you still got to grind, you still got to put the work in, but it was just so many more minorities that were doing things, because here in Fort Wayne, you may be 1 out of 10, or, like at the time there was no, minority CPAs that I could look up to. But down there, I went to go work for a minority CPA firm, and then every other person in there. So I'm working with my 3 partners. They're all minorities. And then everybody that I'm working with, which is like I said, I got 10 or 20 people, they're all minorities. So it's just a lot more community for us. And then that way we were able to just, I was able to look at somebody else and say, hey, I'm not the only one down here, trying to do this, and then, go from there. But, I also went to college though. And so like, my best friend from college, he's white. And so he also helped me, throughout school, and just helped me with some of my career.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school up in Northwood University now.
Where's that?
It's in Midland, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So did you always have a passion for numbers, or what kind of led you to the CPA route?
Yeah, I mean, that's really a misconception.
Yeah.
Numbers, I always tell people, numbers, if you're a numbers person, you're going to be an engineer. I like making money, from day one. So that's really what that's how I got into accounting. I remember when I was, again, working with my grandfather, my cousin asked me, what do you want to do? I said, man, I want to be around the money.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to understand how people make money and how businesses make money. And then that's why I went to accounting.
Very good.
Yeah.
So once you understood how businesses make money, obviously you looked at opening your own CPA firm, sounds like?
Yeah. I guess I wanted to open my own CPA firm a while back. I really one time I worked for GE Capital, which I really learned how they make money because we did like commercial lending. Mm-hmm. So I understood, how they evaluate companies and stuff like that. So when I went back to Atlanta, I wanted to get more into that. And then basically I had a business partner at the same time. I had a business partner. And so we developed, we wanted to open up a chain of tax offices. Mm-hmm. So then that's what happened, is that we opened up a couple tax offices and went from there.
Very good.
What was the time frame from when you graduated from college to you establishing your own organization?
From when I went to college? So I graduated college, 89? And then I started my practice in 2000. Okay. So a good 10 years. So I had a good 10 years worth of training. And I think what helped me personally is I worked in a lot of different industries, or a lot of different positions in the accounting arena. Everything for the first 10 years, everything other than tax. So I have a different perspective than just someone that just, been in that same field for a long time and then start their own practice, which is good.
Have you had the opportunity to start branching out into other business ventures as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I have. Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not bad. I would say any venture that you go into, just make sure that, for me, you make sure that you're staying within what you can do. So when I do other business ventures, let's say for instance, right now we're doing a business venture. We're doing like some building. We're doing some construction work. I'm not out there in the field trying to, hammer a nail or put the roof on or do stucco or brick, but I'm just I'm doing my part, which is like the administrative, managing the money and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So with this show, obviously, financial literacy is a big thing, that we're preaching to the community and getting that knowledge out there. Any advice that you have for our audience out there when it comes to their personal finances, budgeting, managing their money, any things like that, things that you would talk to your clients about?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I learned, a couple things I think that really helped is when you're making money, right? You have to name every dollar, right? Because what some people do is, if you go into budgeting, they will say, well, let me see what you spend for the next 30 days. And that way I'll help you with your budget. But you already know how much money you're bringing home. So if you're bringing home $1,000, you have to make sure that you put a name for, that $1,000. So it's similar to, the envelope technique where you got $1,000, you put $100 here, $100 here, $100 here. So that way you allocate every dollar and you know exactly where it's going to. And the thing that I learned, one of the things I learned from Dave Ramsey, or
There's that name again.
yeah, Dave Ramsey. I mean, I do believe some of his stuff. I don't believe some of his stuff. And I tell you that also, I say Dave Ramsey and Ty Carter. Right? So Dave Ramsey and Ty Carter is, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Right? I mean, one day Todd said, hey, if you want my car, it's outside, right? Come get it. So basically, if you don't have the money, then basically you just make sure that you can let your lender know, hey, I don't have it. Can we make some kind of arrangement where I could pay you a little bit? You don't run from them, but definitely just let them know, or say, hey, I'm working on some things and you're next in line. But don't stress out, because at the end of the day, if you got $1,000, you got $1,000 to spend.
That's a great point. I think we talked about that, the financial literacy seminar that we had about, don't dodge your creditors, right? Don't leave those bills going unopened, those notices, final notices, and things like that. Pick up the phone and call them, right? They don't want to come take your car back from you. They want you to pay for it. So if they got to work with you to make payment arrangements, something like that, most lenders are willing to do that.
Right.
Okay. But it kind of takes the initiative. You have to call and let them know, because they don't know what your financial problems are. They just think you're dodging them.
Right. Yeah. And that also like transition into business, because, we're dealing with construction, and sometimes in construction, the money slows down because it takes a while. Typically we're getting paid within 30 days, but our vendors, we just had to let them know, hey, I'm going to pay you on this date. So don't run away from your vendors. Just make sure that you're communicating with them, and then, like you said, they'll know what's going on.
Yeah, that's just good business.
So when you say name your dollar, elaborate on that. You literally naming a dollar. Explain to the people.
So when I say name your dollar, basically, just if you got $1,000, right? When I say name your dollar, if you want to get Starbucks, say, okay, I'm going to allocate, $10 a month or whatever for Starbucks. I know I got to pay rent. X amount is going for rent, and then X amount is going here, and X amount is going there. So basically, you're not waiting to know where your money's going. You're telling your money where you want it to go. So does that make more sense?
Yes, sir. I just wanted clarification. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So again, just going back to my earlier example, when I got a job, and then I would tell them how much I needed to make. So I knew how much money I was getting.
You told your job how much you needed to make?
No, I knew how. Well, I definitely told my job. I definitely told my job how much I need to make, but I knew how much I needed to make. So then when I got the money, it was already allocated to where it was going. Again, I knew how much was going to tax. I wasn't worried about that. I knew how much was going to church. And then I knew how much I was going to put into savings. And then when I didn't have no savings, at the time where I didn't have no savings because I was still, struggling from, college or just growing up, I just made sure I went put everything in those bills. And I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I've never had a bill in my life. I just, because I wasn't rich growing up or anything like that. So yeah, I've gone through times where I've had, like they said, credit card debt up to your eyeballs, but I just use those techniques to hey, pay off one thing. My thing was a little bit different than Dave Ramsey. I would typically try to pay off something that had the higher interest rate first, as opposed to having the snowball effect. But it was
talked about that there too.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same method. And yeah.
What was the other one? Snowball, and what was the other?
Avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just take care of everything. But it's funny though, everything that you're speaking of, I mean, we have spoke to at some point in time on this show or at the workshops, but it takes discipline, man. It's discipline and it's a mindset. Because if you don't have that discipline, everything you just said, if I don't have that discipline, I just spent up my Starbucks fund over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull from this utility bill. They get their money later. And, I need my Starbucks. So, but you have to be disciplined. And again, that mindset that I am going to do right, I want to start doing right. And with that said, this Saturday, September 21st, from 4 to 6 at the Fort Wayne Urban League, we have our 2.0 series of our financial literacy workshops, a mental state of mind. We'll be talking about insufficient savings. And actually, a lot of things that lead to insufficient savings. Just in a de facto survey that I did, people talk about impulse buys. They're buying stuff, they can't help it. And when we look, I see Ryan's phone over there. We got stuff at our fingertips, and they're sending you the latest, greatest in sales and everything. People, hey, I got to have it. Boom, boom. You buying it. And so, just like you said, I could have all my, I can name all my dollars I want, but hey, this outfit that I want is in my price range. I got to have it. I got to have it now. But we hope to see you guys out there. On Saturday, again, 4 to 6, Fort Wayne Urban League. We're going to have, again, professionals from the financial area, and we're also going to have mental health services, folks that are going to be on deck. And as Ryan alluded to, the first service that we had, the first workshop that we had, just laid back. It was a conversation. You're not going to go there. We got a panel of people talking down to you or just talking. It's going to be a discussion. And we had a lot of people that spoke and shared their own personal stories that were in the audience with our panel. And we were able to help a lot of people. I had people reach out even after the program and help that what you were talking about, not ducking creditors. I had a young lady who was struggling with paying her mortgage, called up her lender, got her payments rearranged, all because she found out that. So
we can help one person. It was worth it, right?
There you go. That's exactly it. But we hope to see everybody out there. Good time. We're gonna feed you, not just mentally and spiritually, but we're gonna feed you physically. Nice good spread, and it's always a good time. So definitely, we hope to see people out.
Awesome, JJ. There's a great pub for it. So yeah, we hope to see you there as well. So getting out of here today, John, thank you for joining us.
Thank you
for your trip. But last question I have for you: you said you're not an athlete, but are you a sports fan?
I am a sports fan. Yes.
Yeah. Atlanta teams or who's your teams?
I like the Colts, but I will root for Atlanta since they got a safety from Fort Wayne now. So
safety from Fort Wayne.
Jesse
He was
Bates.
awesome the other night.
Shout out.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, their tight end, Kyle Pitts. Any relation?
No.
No, okay. I was gonna have you get on him and see if he can start create some stuff.
How many beers have you got out his name?
Yeah. All right, but seriously, thanks for joining us today, John. Have a safe trip back. You're leaving today, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, have a safe trip back. But seminar this weekend. Financial literacy. Hope to see you there. Till then, we'll be back in 2 weeks for a financial pillar. I'm Ryan Lepird, JJ Foster, Terrence Bush. We're ONV. Peace.